one of you guys sent me a video that we need to watch, and the fact that Corey's been in chat this morning, I think, makes it all the more appropriate. No doubt he's never heard of it. One of you guys sent me this video, and I feel like you're just trying to mess with me, because as you know, I am a sucker for ancient Egypt. Always have been. I've got the little Pyramid of Giza behind me. I actually have, I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of hidden, but I've got like all sorts of little things, like these little pyramids that are out of stone. I've had this since I was like 11 years old. Got the little Tutankhamun mask and stuff. I love ancient Egypt stuff. What can I say? What can I say? I find it fascinating, compelling even. I even went to a book signing with the one and only Zahi Hawass. This guy who you've probably seen on, like, I think he went on Joe Rogan and it was kind of a dumpster fire. But he's like one of the most well-known and famous archaeologists of the modern era, and he was a total freaking jerk at the book signing. Like he was, I was so excited to meet him, and he was just like the nastiest, grumpiest, he was not nice. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But one of the things I've been holding out for is the hope that one day I will get yet another chance to explore Egyptian mythology and stories and worlds. Assassin's Creed Origins. I've told you guys many times, I am not unbiased when it comes to that game because I love ancient Egypt. The idea that I can climb a pyramid in a video game and then go explore tombs and stuff, that's like an actual dream come true, okay? So I love AC Origins for that reason, almost exclusively, because I just love ancient Egypt. But there's rumors, speculation, dare I say, that we will be getting another franchise, big franchise, going to the ancient Egyptian setting soon. At this point, it's all speculation. We don't actually know. The leaks are pretty much non-existent, and it's mostly people just talking and hyping themselves up. But it's obviously, if you don't know at this point, God of War. That's the suspicion, is that they're going to go to Egypt, Egyptian mythology, now that they're done with the Norse. It's technically a duology, I guess, but it was originally like the Norse saga, we'll call it. So that's what I've been hoping for. But you guys are trying to mess with me and kill my vibe. One of you sent me a video called "The Problem with God of War Egypt That No One Talks About," and I'm like, bitch, there's a problem? There's a problem? Better not be. Better not be. Because I've been excited for it. Honestly, other settings would be cool too. There's been like speculation, maybe they do like, the Mayan mythology. I think that honestly could be cool. Oh, maybe they go and they do like an islander, like they go to specifically like the Pacific Islands and do stuff there. I don't know what that would look like, but that could be cool. China could be cool. There's so many things they could do. That would be interesting. But I think Egypt is the layup, that's the layup. Modern day Ohio. God of War, Ohio. Kratos works at an Office Max. He has to fight the final boss fight against the middle manager, Keith. Dude, you know what? I'd play it. There's a whole mini game where he's like stacking reams of paper on a shelf. Honestly, that would be a vibe. That'd be a vibe. Yeah, LOL, it's your turn to have your Cheerios pissed in, says Scubbert. Yeah, it's my turn. So that's what this video is aiming to do, is to piss in my Cheerios and humble me. Luke, did you miss me? Love from Egypt. Much love to you, my friend. And also much love to Loxy. Golly gee whiz, just gifted 12 subs over on Twitch. That's incredibly generous, my friend. Thank you so much. That's incredibly generous. Welcome everybody who just got a sub over on Twitch. Get in our Discord and you can send me videos like this that kill my vibe, okay? So we're gonna watch it, see what the argument is, what the problem with Egypt is. And I like the idea that maybe Corey is in chat, silently lurking, watching this and seeing what the problem is with the thing he's definitely aware is happening. Right, Corey? Right? If you want to just like confirm that you're going to Egypt with God of War, that'd be great. Just real quick. That's fine. Just like a quick, yep. That's all I need. Thank you, Locked, again. That's very, very generous. Let's see.
You want to know a fun God of War fact that will totally not make you depressed? If PlayStation doesn't announce a new God of War game by February 2026, this would have been the longest stretch of time that God of War fans have had to wait for a new game announcement. I want you to think about that for a second. The time we've had to wait to get a new game announcement since God of War Ragnarok release is almost as long as the time we had to wait in between the release of God of War Ascension and the announcement of God of War 2018.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah. So 2016 was like a crazy year for PlayStation announcements. They revealed, of course, God of War 2018. I think that's also where they revealed The Last of Us Part 2. I'm pretty sure it is. So 2016 was like a big year, even though it was revealing games that would take a little while to come out. But yeah, that was only 3 years after Ascension, technically. So that's crazy.
The gods of Santa Monica have abandoned me.
I wanted to start this video with this interesting fact, not only because, well, I'm a little bit salty at the lack of God of War announcement at the Game Awards, but also because I wanted to show you that I've had a lot of time to think about this next big God of War game. Not the rumored Metroidvania or the rumored God of War 1 remake, but...
Quick, Pog wife in chat. She brought me a coffee. My wife's better than your wife. Ha 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 ha. Because you're single and alone. No, thank you, my babe. Yep. Much love. Are you hanging out with little fella? Oh, dude.
I have had a very chill day.
Good. I'm glad. Ori is getting some one-on-one mama time while Loki's at school, and it's a vibe. Ori's chill. Ori's a bro. He's a bro. Yeah, look at all the Pog wives in chat. Pog wife. Oh yeah, that's her Pog wife chat. Pog wife. Can you tell she's been playing Fortnite? Much love. Thank you. Okay, continuing. Also, I just want to point this out. Average Game Awards reaction to Highguard. Just watch his face real quick.
I wanted to start this video with this interesting fact, not only because, well, I'm a little bit salty.
Sorry. This is, I think we all were feeling this. I think.
At the lack of God of War announcement at the Game Awards, but also because I wanted to show you that I've had a lot of time to think about this next big God of War game. Not the rumored Metroidvania or the rumored God of War 1 remake, but the next mainline God of War game. The one that almost every God of War fan believes will take place in Egypt. In regards to this assumption, I understand that some fans want
Corey, it's you!
Santa Monica to subvert our expectations by taking Kratos to an entirely different pantheon.
Honestly, what's you guys' thoughts in the comments or in the chat about subverting expectations? I get it. Like, if everybody expects you to go one direction and you go that direction, it's less exciting, you know, than if it's something totally unexpected. Most people thought that God of War 2018 was going to be going to Egypt. Like, that was kind of the expectation. And then, of course, they pivoted off and did the Norse mythology, which ended up being great. But I think the tricky thing with always like trying to subvert expectations is that sometimes that just means you avoid doing the thing that people like, you know? We're like Assassin's Creed for years, for like a decade, people demanded that they go to Japan. Like, this is going back to like 2011. People were asking for it. There's forum posts from 2010, 2011 of people asking for Japan. And then they just didn't. And it turns out, not so fun fact, hold on. I believe it was Sergey, former chief creative officer. Oh my God, why does it keep doing this? Just stop. Former chief creative officer of Ubisoft, Sergey Haskut, was given an 18-month suspended sentence for psychological harassment and complicity in sexual harassment. He was actually convicted of this. He was a former Ubisoft chief creative officer, Sergey, and he was the one that shut down the idea of them ever going to Japan because he thought it was too obvious. He's also the one that said women don't sell and refused to put women in like leading roles within the games. And then he was fired in like the 2020 era, I believe it was. And then he was convicted in July of this past year, actually convicted of like psychological abuse, which is horrifying. But that's the guy that prevented AC Japan from happening until last year. So there you go. Continuing on. But what I was saying, sorry, I don't mean to go that and then flash back to Corey. What I mean to say is sometimes subverting expectations can make sense and lines up because like you want to surprise people. And if you have a solid idea over here and everybody's expecting this, it can be fun to just go that other way. You know, and maybe there's also the element of maybe you're worried that you can't live up to the expectations of X. You know, if everybody's really excited for Valve to do Half-Life 3, but you know, as Gabe, sitting in your yacht, you know that you're never going to live up to the expectations. So maybe it's just worth not, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the trouble. I don't know. I can see it both ways, but I think usually if everybody's expecting you to go one direction, often it's because they are excited for that and they like that idea. So I don't know. Continuing. Sorry.
Want Santa Monica to subvert our expectations by taking Kratos to an entirely different pantheon. But I think it's pretty safe to say that the next big God of War game will take place in Egypt. It's honestly the pantheon that fans have wanted to see the most since the ending of God of War 3. There's been multiple hints about the pantheon throughout this series. And
also, that moment specifically, I thought was very interesting because the helmet is like pretty oversized, right? Like Atreus is a human. He's a standard human. That helmet is not for a that helmet would be too big for Kratos by a large margin. So when I saw how freaking big it was, I was like, oh, so like the kings are giants and like, okay. So I'm imagining like a freaking 15-foot tall pharaoh boss fight with a scythe. Immediately the gears start turning. I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm excited by that. Caleb, thank you for the 10. God of War Utah. You have to defeat the 78 wives of Joseph Smith before facing him in his special underwear. I'll let you pitch that one, Caleb. You know, Corey's in chat. Maybe he'll see that and be like, actually. Okay, hold on. Get them on the phone. Sony executives, we're making a pivot. I just got an idea, an inspiration.
Pantheon throughout this series. And Santa Monica already almost made this game back in 2018. In my humble opinion, God of War Egypt is almost guaranteed to be the next Pantheon in the series. The real mystery is, how is Santa Monica going to get Kratos there after the events of God of War Ragnarok?
Boat.
The most popular theory in regards to this question is that Atreus will get captured by another Pantheon and Kratos will have no choice but to go and rescue him. But I think this idea ultimately betrays the whole story God of War Ragnarok was trying to tell. Atreus, whether you like it or not, is by himself now. It is now time for his story to begin. And that can't happen if Daddy's always around. I think a better reason to get Kratos inside of Egypt is...
Are you suggesting that Atreus is the star of God of War Egypt then? I don't know. I think it's tricky because like they've literally established Atreus as like Loki, God of Mischief. So I'm like, I'm not sure if you can do that without Kratos. In my view, like Kratos is the God of War. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you can do God of War without Kratos. Yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing how you do it if you were to try it. But I think to a certain extent, you always have to have him. I do agree that Atreus's story kind of reached the end of the runway and he's kind of taken off doing his own thing. That's why I think like a Miles Morales-esque spinoff with Atreus could make a lot of sense. But as a partner to Kratos, I'm not sure if there's a lot left to explore. You know, I think it could be interesting to throw in some new characters as sidekicks, you know.
He takes Tyr's role in the story. Tyr in the God of War universe wasn't only the God of War of the Norse lands, he also undertook the great responsibility of unification. Not just within the borders of the Norse realm, but also unification with other pantheons. But Tyr, as I'm sure you know, is no longer the God of War of the Norse realms. That responsibility has fallen to another god, Kratos. So could Kratos now take his role of unifying not just the Norse realms, but also all of the pantheons? Tyr certainly seems to think something along those lines.
The days I could hope to unify these realms are long past. But they see you as the hero of Ragnarok. You are known and respected. And from what I have seen, you're the most qualified by far.
Maybe what will get Kratos inside of Egypt is...
He does have a killer resume. I mean, it's kind of hard to come up with a god that's like more qualified.
It's an attempt at making peace with another pantheon. This will be followed, of course, by one of the Egyptian gods disapproving of this move. So this Egyptian god will most likely devise a plan to turn all of the Egyptian gods against Kratos, and boom, there you have it, God of War Egypt begins. But similar to the theory of Atreus getting captured by another pantheon, I'm not entirely sure this story will feel natural to the development of Kratos as a character. Sure, he has grown quite a bit, but I think it's too much for him to suddenly be making a trip to another pantheon and ask for unification. Kratos right now isn't in a position to start a war with another pantheon, but I also don't think he's in any position to become a hippie god that just wants to chill with other pantheons. So what could be...
I'm sorry. The idea of Kratos like chilling and vibing, like, I agree. Kratos is not, his preferred tactic is not diplomacy. I will grant you that. I agree. And that's why I think the concept of like kickstarting another saga is going to be interesting because, like, what is the inciting incident? What's the impetus to get him going? Like, of course, with the God of War 2018, he's mostly pushed into action on behalf of Atreus, and specifically the scene where, you know, no spoilers, but the scene where he goes under the floorboards, like, that's a big moment, but he's doing it specifically for his son, right? What is the thing that pushes him forward this time? I think it could be his son once more, but that also feels a little repetitive. So maybe there's something more. I don't know. It's gotta be something big though, something exciting to get him to go crazy once more, you know?
The reason for taking Kratos into Egypt then?
If you guys missed it, yesterday I tried reacting to the problem with God of War Egypt that no one talks about. Problem came around when my power went out in the middle of us talking about it, which kind of sucked because we had like Cory Barlog in chat with us watching a video about God of War. That's kind of baller, frankly. That's freaking cool. It would be like talking about The Last of Us with Neil Druckmann, or talking about Elder Scrolls and Todd Howard is hanging out, you know, like it was cool. And then the power went out, and it was out until 11 p.m. Woof. So it was a long day and a long evening, but now power is back. Power's back, my friend. So I want to finish it now, and I'm guessing Jacob cut this together, so this starts right after the power went out. So yeah, for those of you watching the clips after the fact, this is the next day, but you know what, it's still gonna be fun. Basically what he went through a brief recap of everything with God of War and what they need to kind of set up and where they're leaving off with the Norse saga, and we're gonna resume right about here and you know, get back into the groove. Let's see the rest of what he had to say.
Sure, this story will feel natural to the development of Kratos as a character. Sure, he has grown quite a bit, but I think it's too much for him to suddenly be making a trip to another pantheon and ask for unification.
This, okay, this is coming back to me. Yes, Kratos, now he's kind of a god that's in charge of unifying the realms. So how do they set up God of War Egypt? They could do it where he just needs to go and unify them. Maybe there's some infighting or civil war amongst the gods. I think the easiest thing to do would be to have like an invasion where the Egyptian gods come in and like make it clear that Kratos needs to step up and be better. Maybe that's what he does. I'm not sure.
Kratos right now isn't in a position to start a war with another pantheon, but I also don't think he's in any position to become a hippie god that just wants to chill with other pantheons. So what could be the reason for taking Kratos into Egypt then? We'll probably never guess what the writers have come up with until we actually play the game, but recently I've started to think about this question from a different angle. What if the reason we can't come up with a way for Kratos to leave the Norse realms is because there isn't one? God of War Ragnarok clearly gives a reason for Atreus to be the one who's leaving, but not for Kratos. In fact, a big part of the story of God of War Valhalla is him coming to accept the role as one of the protectors of the realm. It would honestly be weird for Santa Monica to completely bypass this new chapter in his life by taking him out of the Norse realms.
I believe I would like to sit here for a while.
On top of that, we also know that Santa Monica has left many unanswered questions from the Norse saga, like the mystery of who blew the horn.
Oh, I think that this is where the power went out. Yeah, because I was saying how I really like this sequence because it shows the anxiety of a father and the like how anxious he is when he starts pacing on the elevator. Because it would have been so easy for them to just see. As I start talking about this, I'm worried my power is going to drop the moment I get into it, which would be freaking hilarious. But yeah, this moment was so well done and well acted and motion captured and just, oh, it's just so good. It's so good.
Has left many unanswered questions from the Norse saga, like the mystery of who blew the horn, Sindri's turn to the dark side, the possibility that Forseti's still alive.
His father murdered Heimdall. Forseti has proof. Take him.
No.
And lastly, the weird situation with Hell's next ruler. I think we can all agree that if Santa Monica tries to answer any of these Norse-centric mysteries in another pantheon, those answers would not be very fulfilling. We also have
I'm sorry. Guys,
Norse-centric mysteries in another pantheon. Those answers
everybody chill, it was me. I do wonder if they're ever going to answer that.
would not be very fulfilling. We also have the issue of the new weapons Kratos has acquired. Usually when you start a new saga, it's best to start off fresh from a gameplay perspective. This is why Cory Barlog didn't want Kratos to have the Blades of Chaos from the start of God of War 2018. He wanted players to get accustomed to the Leviathan Axe and the new gameplay formula. So if we follow the same logic, Kratos will probably have a new weapon in the Egyptian saga. But there's an issue here that not many have realized. When Kratos made the jump from the Greek realm to the Norse realm, Santa Monica only had to bring with him one weapon, the Blades of Chaos. But now with the jump to the Egyptian saga, Santa Monica not only has to make this jump with the Blades of Chaos, but also with the Leviathan Axe and the Draupnir Spear. An argument can be made that the Draupnir Spear isn't that important, even though it was made with his own blood and was blessed by Brock in one of the most emotional moments in the story. But who knows, maybe Santa Monica will be able to do away with the Draupnir Spear. But I really don't know how they'll justify leaving the Leviathan Axe behind. This isn't just a cool axe with ice powers. This is Kratos' late wife's weapon that may or may not contain part of her soul.
Yeah, an exclusive fact that revealed to us is that inside Kratos' axe dwells someone's spirit from his past, and that's why it always returns to his hand. And from that day, May 16th, 2018, I was already sure they were working on the sequel. Interesting.
Much like the Blades of Chaos, the Leviathan Axe is very important to Kratos as a character. This means that Kratos will have to make the jump to the Egyptian realm with 2 weapon slots already filled. This leaves room for maybe one more weapon, but no more.
I don't know. This type of thing I've never been that worried about, because like they can always just do the thing where it's like, oh, you've arrived at whatever Egypt realm. I'll take that, and I'll take that, and whoop. Oh no, they fell in the Mount Doom lava pit. Oh, now you got to use this cool Egyptian scythe. Like, I think it'll be fine. I think if they want to find some new way of doing it, they can do that. You know, like I don't think it's that big of a deal.
And can you really imagine a new God of War saga with only one new weapon? When we're being completely honest with ourselves, there isn't anything in the story of God of War Ragnarok that hints at Kratos traveling anywhere. So once again I ask, how are they going to get Kratos inside of Egypt? Clearly, it's very difficult for Santa Monica to make the Egyptian saga a continuation of the Norse saga.
So prequel? Is that what we're saying? I don't know how that would work.
So what if it isn't then? What if God of War Egypt is actually a prequel story?
Did you have everything before the game of like how long this is after the last God of War journey we've seen? Like how much older Kratos
how long
is
this after the last game?
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Anyway.
Leaving the door open. Oh, okay.
We've been pretty specific throughout all the development of God of War to not commit to a date or any time periods. Chronologically, it fits beforehand, but it is way more interesting to look back on that when you find out her power and control. If you find out who she is and you find all that information first, this story doesn't work as well, right? This reveal and this sort of bonding between these two characters. But now, looking back on how he got there, that to me is far more interesting, because now you feel like you totally understand everything, but you don't.
If Santa Monica decides to make the Egyptian game a prequel story about Kratos, then they completely bypass all of the problems they would have with a sequel. They would no longer have to worry about all the mysteries they left unanswered because, chronologically speaking, they don't exist yet. They also wouldn't have to come up with an ad hoc justification for why he no longer has the Leviathan Axe or the Draupnir Spear.
What if what they do? This is a hypothesis, okay? Scientifical hypothesis. Bear with me. It's a prequel. What do we know? We know that there's been rumors and speculation of I had an egg of a cable tie Velcro thing. That's funny. That's where it went. Sorry, ADHD. Okay, what do we know? There have been rumors and leaks that potentially the spin-off game could possibly explore Kratos' relationship and backstory with like a father figure, right? Like who trained him, where he came from, where he got his senses of duty and obligation. What if what they're gonna do is actually a prequel, and like they are doing the 2.5D game, spin-off game, but what if the prequel for the Egyptian realm is also an exploration of that, and that narrative bit is actually for the Egypt game, not for the 2.5D game? And they're actually like both leaks, even though we thought all the leaks were about this one spin-off game, what if the leaks are actually split? Some of them are for this, some of them are for that. Maybe Maybe. I don't know. That could make sense. That could make sense. I'm sorry. My gears are turning. My gears of God of War are turning.
Because at this point in his life, he didn't have these weapons yet. And lastly, Santa Monica wouldn't have to come up with a creative way of getting Kratos out of the Norse realms because he isn't there yet.
You could do that. Honestly, like, it's kind of fixing a problem that I don't think is that big of a problem. If they want him to go to Egypt, oh no, the Egyptian realm needs you, or there's some sort of divine, he trips and falls out of the whatever tree, and like, oh no, now you got transported somehow. Mystery. And then the weapons, oh, Anubis takes them. You just do that. I don't think anybody would be like, the game was awesome, especially that part where he fought in the underworld and then he like went and actually fought Ra, the sun god. That was really cool. But you know what? Yeah, the fact that he only took a boat to get there was kind of lame. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna say that. You know, I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
In fact, if God of War Egypt is set after the events of God of War 3, it would make perfect sense because this is when Kratos is aimlessly wandering the earth. It's the time in his life where he would naturally come across other pantheons, like he already did with the Egyptian one. Cory Barlog has said before that everything we've seen is a misdirection. So what if the true purpose of the random release of the God of War Fallen God comics was to set up the Egyptian game? They certainly couldn't make a God of War game from the story the Fallen God comics told.
I need to order these. I need to look them up. Has anybody in chat read these, the comics? Anybody in chat read them? I'm honestly curious. God of War, God of Boy comics. They good? Are they good? I see them. Do they sell them in a pack? I don't know. I'll look it up later. Yeah, I gotta order these. I gotta check them out.
Because in this story, Kratos is just constantly passing out and killing nothing throughout most of the comics. However, by the end, we can see the potential for a game because at the very least, Kratos has now accepted the curse of the Blades of Chaos, which means he at least has one weapon for traditional combat. And I know the story of the Fallen God comics ends with Kratos leaving the Egyptian pantheon behind, but again, as Cory Barlog has said before, everything is a misdirection.
That was a dream. The comics are a dream, and Kratos is actually gonna go there for the first time.
What might have seemed like Kratos exiting the Egyptian realm could very well be the beginning of his journey there. It's not like Kratos peacefully passed through the Egyptian realm. He killed two of their creatures in bloody combat. Who's to say that some Egyptian gods won't want retributions for his actions? So instead of Atreus being the one captured by another pantheon, what if it's Kratos? And this is what begins his journey there. From a character perspective, it would also make sense for Santa Monica to focus on this time period because it could offer us a look at a completely different Kratos. So far we've seen the raging monster and the calm and reasonable god, but what exactly happened to Kratos in between these two stages of his life? This is something that a prequel story could explore with ease.
True, I've always thought what is an actual problem, like the weapons, I'm not worried about. Getting to Egypt, not worried about it. You can do whatever you want. What is a difficulty is like Kratos, he's a character with anger issues. And that makes him fun to play as a player. But by the end of Ragnarok, like he's largely leveled out. Like, you know, like he can still go rage mode when he needs to, absolutely. But there's not, like his character arc is pretty well completed with his dad of boy arc. After God of War 3, you know, he completed that arc. And then they did some other stuff with like Ascension. But I'm like, where do you take Kratos as a character at that spot, you know, at that moment? And that's where I'm honestly not sure. Like if you go from there, like I guess you'd be exploring Kratos from the perspective of like being a god and then sense of obligation and serving people and helping people, even though like he's never tried to do that. I don't know. Maybe he's like working to choose which type of god he truly wants to be. But like, what is his arc? What is his arc? And that's where I'm honestly not sure. I don't know where it goes because it's pretty clear within the Norse saga what his arc is. I'm not sure what it would be here. And that's the trickier bit for me. That's the one that's really hard.
And as it turns out, Cory Barlog also seems to think this would be a good idea.
For me, I wanted an expanse of time from 3 to explore the rock bottom of Kratos, right? So that what happened before this is a really cool story, something that I've sort of laid the beats out for, but something we're not really talking about today. Sure. So that when you kind of see that story as it folds into him arriving in Scandinavia and meeting Faye, all of that is a really awesome story.
I do think a prequel probably makes the most sense just because you could explore Kratos in rock bottom. And I do think like the end of the game where he gets to Scandinavia, you see him meet Faye. Like I do think that could be really legitimately cool, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you like, how does the average gamer, how does the regular audience understand that? Do they understand the prequel? Would they understand the framing of that? I'm not sure. GMs, thank you for the 5. What if it is a prequel and the first half of the game is fixed camera and the second half is third person? I mean, I could see it being like a little level. I don't think they'd split it half the game and half the game, but I could see it being like a little mini mode within a boss fight or something. The camera pulls out into the traditional one. That could be cool.
Most God of War fans are not excited about a prequel story. They naturally want to see what's next for Kratos. But if we're being completely honest, there is a sense of finality to Kratos' arc with God of War Valhalla. At least a temporary sense of finality. If you ask me, I think the most natural story to tell after the events of God of War Valhalla is what I'm calling the War of the Pantheons saga. So far, we've been laser focused on Kratos' growth as a character, but Santa Monica has not yet explored what other mythologies think of a god that, from their perspective, goes around destroying pantheons. I'm willing to bet that after Odin and the rule of the Aesir collapse, they began to get really worried about Kratos. So naturally, they would temporarily put aside their differences and team up with the purpose of taking down the Pantheon Destroyer himself.
Literally like Avengers Endgame. I could totally see that. Imagine, dude, if this ends up, this artwork is so badass. I'm gonna warn you. I try to be honest with you guys when I say I have biases and stuff. I'm just gonna be real. Okay? Honesty moment. Cancel me, I don't care. Just my opinion. If this ends up being real, one word. Hard. You get me? You get me? Another word. Throbbing. Understand? Understand? You know what I mean? Tracking? Sorry, the Joe Raptor emote is so funny. Yeah, if this ends up being real, dude, imagine a boss fight like this. Oh, it'll be so good. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I do think that the idea of like an Avengers Endgame, sort of like the other pantheons come together, that could be freaking badass. Where maybe it's all centered around Egypt, because that's a really cool setting that's very different than Scandinavia. But they could also bring in members of pantheons from like China. You could bring in like Aztec gods. There's all sorts of things you could do. If you really wanted to go crazy with it, you could do like a trilogy of games where maybe the first one is exploring the Aztec gods. Maybe they're the ones that kidnap him. Maybe then you go and he fights against the Japanese or Chinese pantheons, and then you go and you have a final end game level fight in Egypt. That could be cool. Like there's, yeah, bring in Jesus. There's so many options, so many options. I'm excited for the Salt Lake City fight. Kratos, get the caffeine. They won't know what to do. Dude, that would be great. I have a lot of Mormon friends, and it's, you know, I realize that's like the stereotypical excuse, but dude, I think they would love it too. Like Book of Mormon, but Kratos final battle. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. What are you brewing, Kratos? Is that a health potion? Worse. Wait, sorry. Hold on. What are you brewing, Kratos? A health potion?
No. More potent.
Well, what is it, Kratos? What are you brewing? What's going to take down the Pantheon?
Coffee and black tea.
I would love that. That'd be fun. That'd be funny. Anyway, continuing.
And this siege on the Norse realm would make even more sense if Kratos has interacted with these pantheons in the past, which would have been this time period that Cory Barlog wants to explore in Kratos' life. What if the next God of War saga isn't the Egyptian one, but instead it's the saga where Kratos pisses off every pantheon? This would make perfect sense because this is a time period in Kratos' life where he isn't the monster he once was, but he also isn't the peaceful god he has become. Which means he probably killed a few of their deities before exiting their realm. Naturally, these pantheons would want to unite after hearing that Kratos toppled yet another pantheon, so they would march towards Midgard with the goal of putting down the one they feared the most.
Wait. What if it starts with this? So Kratos in the modern, quote unquote, modern day, right? And then there's like maybe a message he gets from Osiris or something, and it's just like, effectively, we're coming for you. Or maybe they attack him or something, and then cut flashback to the prequel, and that's where the game takes place. And we don't come back to the modern day or current timeline until like the third game, after we see all the stuff he did in the build up, so that people can connect where this is going to end up with the ultimate showdown with all of the pantheons in this version of Kratos, with this version of Kratos and Atreus and everything. But we're only going to get that after we go through the prequel timelines and understand how we got there. I could totally see that happening. I could totally see that being what they do.
And in this story, Kratos would be placed in a position where he would have no other option but to kill a few gods to protect his people. Which is honestly the only way I see Kratos killing another god after everything he said in God of War Ragnarok.
No more. No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
I know most people don't necessarily get hyped up about prequel stories, most want to see what happens next. But I really think in the case of God of War, it's very important for Santa Monica to explore the past before continuing Kratos' story. By doing so, they put on hold all of the mysteries left over from the Norse saga, while also exploring an unknown time period in Kratos' life. But hey, if you think God of War Egypt could work as a sequel instead of a prequel, I really want to know what your take is. So if you think it can do better, write in the comments section a story premise that you think can get Kratos inside of Egypt after the events of God of War Valhalla. The only rule is, Atreus cannot be captured, which will cause Kratos to go and rescue him.
I think they can do pretty much everything. I don't think that's actually that big of a problem. Personally, I just don't think that that's a big problem. So and like the weapon thing, I don't think that's a big problem either. You can see some of the comments. Bruno Ears, as much as I love the drop in your spear, quote, may it be put down when its job is done, said by Brock and blessing it. It's a good explanation on why it wouldn't be with Kratos anymore. Oh yeah, so right there's a built-in excuse for that. Kratos literally mentioned in his journal that Egypt is a land he would like to travel to one day. Moreover, nothing major happened in Egypt involving post God of War 3 Kratos, as we get zero hints and references to that. Mimir also mentioned that Egypt is a land where lots of gods live, but not all of them are good. I mean, I think there's lots of things. I think to a certain extent, there's a little bit of overthinking here. They can make pretty much anything work, and it's not that big of a deal. They can kind of brute force it if they need to. Where I think that there is a little bit more of a headache involved is with specifically like the tone and with Kratos as a character. Like for all of these games, you got to remember there's got to be an arc. There has to be somewhere for Kratos to go as a character. Otherwise, there's just nothing. It's just nothing. It's just stuff happens. You know, there's got to be some growth, some sort of arc. So I think going back in time, you can do that. And like, you know, he's at rock bottom, because whenever a character's at rock bottom, there's plenty of stuff to explore there. But I think the most obvious thing is if they're going to do it after the events of Valhalla, then there's plenty of potential for like, you know, a doomsday situation or an end game situation where it's just multiple pantheons fighting it out and doing stuff like that. They can wiggle things a lot if they need to. I'm not too worried about it. Odin's back. Do you think we spitting ideas like we are doing would stop Santa Monica from doing it because we're already saying it? No. For one, I'm guessing if anybody from Santa Monica ever sees this, they will laugh at how stupid our ideas are, because they probably already have thought of something way better. Two, they are way farther along than like retconning or pivoting from something. So I don't know what exactly their studio setup is like. I don't know if they have like two full teams. My understanding is that they have one big team and then a pre-production team. The pre-production team was working with Corey through Ragnarok, setting up Corey's game, and now they're working on Corey's game, and now they're probably doing pre-production on what the next God of War is that will come after Corey's game. But who knows? At any point, there could be a pivot or a new piece of information where it's like, oh no, actually, Corey was working on the next God of War, or actually, no, there's something else changed. Like, who knows? Who knows? We don't. And Corey's never heard of it. So it's literally impossible to know. Somehow Zeus has returned. He kind of low-key did though, didn't he? He kind of did through like flashbacks and like these, you know, the ethereal dream stuff when Kratos was like, Daddy, you know, that famous moment where he said Daddy. I don't think Luke remembers that moment very well. I don't think he remembers it very well. He took my thing.